Hello. I am going to start in a second. I just have to use the bathroom really fast and then I will be back. Sorry. I'm sorry, Abir. I don't know if you're still here, but I am doing good. I had to go to the bathroom. I hope you are doing good. But yeah, I haven't played Animal Crossing in a hot minute. So I thought I would do that. And just seeing this dumb bitch Isabel on my fucking monitor, I really don't like her. Like, I got this emote just because. Just because. So, yes, you do. I also don't know if you've seen this guy that I got. Somebody made a bunch of Animal Crossing animated emotes, and obviously I had to get my boy. So now every time I do something awesome, we could just have Tom Nook clap for me. And I think the same person also made KK Slider, but I haven't gotten that one yet. So, all right. We got the... I gotta move. Oh my god, I got things everywhere, so I can't move anything. Because I put the camera in the wrong spot. I had a pretty funny moment yesterday. I thought it was funny. So it was after Pride group that I do for work, and it was me and the co-facilitator of Pride group, and we were with the clients of the group waiting for their ride to come that was running very, 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 very late, 45 minutes late. And while we were waiting, my phone went off from some messages, and my co-facilitator, Connie, was like, wait a minute. Because my text message sound, I don't think I'm going to be able to... Hold on. Let me see if I can send myself a message, but as a text, so that you can hear... No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It worked! So that is my text tone. The little, I don't know what noise that is from Animal Crossing. So Connie was like, wait a minute, is that? And I'm like, yes. Y'all want to know what my ringtone is? And they were like, wow, you really like Animal Crossing. And I'm like, what point of over 1,600 hours in the game are you not understanding? What is not clicking here? 1,600 plus hours. What do you mean? So whenever people ask me how much I love Animal Crossing, and yes, I have it set to the wrong day so that we could do the KK concert. Yeah, that's how I coped with the pandemic. And lockdown. I go, Steph, how have you dealt with difficult things in your life in the past couple years? Animal Crossing. Schmeed. Getting tattoos. That's how. What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't know if you remember this part of the pandemic of beer, but I do. And at least, I don't know if it was like this over there where you guys are. But over here, cool. 518 bells of interest. Over here, there was a point where they started to be like, oh, hey, like, basically there was concern or speculation around the dispensaries and like people basically running out of weed to sell. Like they weren't going to be able to have the supply to keep selling it to the dispensaries. And at the time, we didn't have dispensaries here. They weren't a thing yet. But my guy would get his stuff from a guy in California who would get it from a dispensary out there. So I'm like, oh my God. I can survive anything, but there's no way I'm going to survive this lockdown without Schmeed. No way. So I remember I went to my guy who, like, my guy before we got dispensaries, he was an OG. When I say an OG, I mean he had been selling since the 80s. Yeah. But here it was like there was a little bit of a panic. There were lines at dispensaries. Um but my dude, he was he was an OG. He told me he'd been dealing since the 80s, the 1980s. All right? Like for anyone not aware, a lot of the things that we have now for Schmeed, like all the choices, all the variety, all the options. Um, yeah, that was not a thing. There was one kind of Schmeed, and it was the flour. And if you weren't about the flour, too fucking bad. um, so like I remember when he told me that, I was like, oh man, like that must be really. He's like, yeah, lots of things have changed over time. Um, and he was like, I really liked him. He was by far the best one I had in all of my years. No, it's up. All right, here you go. Here's another American government TED talk for you, Abir. So we have our federal government and our state governments. And that was created because obviously given our history and our origin as a country, our biggest concern was the federal government having too much power and being able to do too much. And there's a lot of like the early days of the American like government and us as a country as a whole. It was a really rocky time, like the first couple years. And by couple I mean like first, like, I want to say like 20 years were pretty rough. Because there was a lot of disagreements over how much power the federal government would have and how much power the individual states would have, because the states are unique in their own way individually, and there was a lot of worry about federal government making laws that would be detrimental to certain states if they didn't have enough control over their own governance and laws and stuff. So that's why we have federal laws and state laws, and every state has their own laws. So I would have to look up right now. 24. Recreational use of Schmeed has been legalized in 24 states, including. Well, and that's the thing. There's medical and then there's recreational. So there are states who have legalized medically, but not recreationally. So, for example, a state that is not legal for recreational use. So there are no dispensaries or stores that you could go into in the state of New Hampshire. Like if I lived in New Hampshire, I don't have a medical license, I would not be able to buy in New Hampshire. But if you had a medical license, a medical condition that a doctor said, yes, here you go. So there's New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Florida, Oh boy. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. Is that Missouri? I'm looking at a map with no names on it, so that's why I'm like, what state is that? Oklahoma. Oh God. What are you? Utah. And North and South Dakotas are all legal for medical use, but not for recreational use. And I could sit here and run down all the Maine, Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota. I have no idea what the state next to Illinois is. Is that Illinois or Idaho? See, I don't even know my own fucking map, my own states. Because there's so many of them, they're so big, I don't know where they are on the map. We got Montana. That's definitely Colorado. New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, Oregon, and Washington State. So, in all those states, you don't have to have a special little card from a doctor that says that you could do it. So, and that creates some problems, right? Because there are federal agencies known, such as the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA. That is a federal agency. That is run and operated under the jurisdiction of the federal government. And under our federal law, marijuana is illegal. But under state law, in those states, it's legal. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that if you're in the military, you can't smoke because it's federally illegal. If Robert failed a drug test, he would get in big, big trouble and get kicked out of the military probably. If you live in Section 8 housing, which is housing that is for low-income people, that is federally owned housing property, federally run. You can't smoke on those properties. As I spill all over myself. And it means that if the DEA feels like showing up and raiding a bunch of the dispensaries, they can. They have every right to, because the federal law says that they can. So, it's a whole... Yep. Yeah, it's, or like flying on a plane. You can't bring anything with you because those are federally run things and there's federal agencies involved. So you can't fly across the country and bring it with, like, even if I was going from New Jersey to California, two legal states for recreational, doesn't matter. Wouldn't be allowed to do it. And yes, that does make things complicated. Yep. It is. It's also why you'll find different ways of doing things in every single state, even if they're right fucking next to each other. So Vermont and New Hampshire are right next to each other. They're literally like two little puzzle pieces that fit together. One is like shaped like a V like this, and then New Hampshire is shaped like this. So like this, Vermont, New Hampshire. They're like weird little triangles that fit together. And Vermont is known as like the liberal, progressive, leftist holy land, the land of Bernie, the land of hippies and Schmeed and equality and rights and equity and progressiveness and all the good things. You go, depending on where you are in Vermont, you drive 15, 20 minutes in one direction, you end up in New Hampshire. Where do I begin? Where do I begin? I mean, a lot of people like New Hampshire off the bat because there's very few, there's like no taxes in New Hampshire, sorry. There's like no state taxes on like anything. Because they like don't believe in that. So they have like no fucking social services to help people. Okay? They have to send everything to fucking us and Massachusetts because they have no fucking support services. You also, a lot of states, you are legally required to have car insurance. Yes, Vermont is where the Christian Girl Autumn meme comes from. You're not required to have car insurance in the state of New Hampshire, so don't get in an accident in the state of New Hampshire, basically. Like Vermont, for example, not this past November, but the November 2022, we were one of like the first or few states to make it so that basically from the moment of conception to the moment of birth, you are able to get an abortion as long as it's medically necessary. Whereas that's not possible in New Hampshire. New Hampshire does not have legal weed. Alcohol is super duper. I've seen people say that the reason why New Hampshire has not legalized recreational weed is because they want to do it their way. Because right now, recreational weed comes with a lot of taxes. New Hampshire does not do taxes. So they're not going to do it until they can do it their way. And plus, they can just come over here and get it. Literally, New Hampshire is the only state in all of New England that has not legalized recreational weed. So if you're in New Hampshire, depending on where you are, unless you're in like the deep heart of New Hampshire, you could probably go somewhere else to get it if you really want to. But you'd have to pay a tax for another state that you don't live in. Like, I'm okay with the 21% tax, 21%, that they don't include in the price. So you have to do the math yourself. So I don't mind paying that 21% because I know that 21% is going back into my state, going back into my local communities, potentially helping people that I work with personally. So I'm okay with it for the most part. I would not be I'm less okay with that when I go to New Jersey because I don't live in New Jersey anymore. It is helping my family maybe, but who live there. But I'm talking too much and not gaming enough. I'm sorry. You know, so, I mean, the state of Colorado, you could look it up. They had so much money the first couple of years that they legalized recreationally. They didn't know what to do with the money. They were literally just giving it away to the school districts. So, like, here's $300 million. We don't know what else to do with this money. It's all from weed. Here you go. It blew my mind. So whenever it comes out like, oh, the Vermont recreational schmeed industry, had a profit of, I think in the first like month or so, they said it was like $1 million, in revenue in just 1 month. And I was like, I helped with that. You're welcome. That's my money you're talking about. KK Dub. Yep, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hold on. I don't like the light color on this. You guys can't see it, but there's a little, I'll show you in a second. There's a little, it's kind of hard to tell. There's a light. That doesn't help. And I made it purple. I need to sit down with the people at FIFA, the FIFA people, and I need them to explain to me, like I'm 5, why they chose East Rutherford, New Jersey for the World Cup. And I'm really sorry, I have to go to the bathroom, so we're just going to marinate on that. Why? Why would they choose East Rutherford, New Jersey for the motherfucking World Cup? Why? I gotta know. Let's think about it. Okay, I'm back. Yes, I can really go to the bathroom that fast. Why? I'll tell you why. Because as a child growing up, we took a lot of road trips, and if you're of the feminine persuasion, you know that bathrooms anywhere are, there's always a line, but especially at the rest area when you're traveling. So when I was like little, I mean real little, like under the age of 10, my mother and she'd take me into the bathroom, and she would, when we'd be standing in the line, it was always our turn. She'd look over to me and be like, all right, you go in, you do your business, you get out. We're not playing around, we're not doing games, like in, out, get out. And so I pee like the toilet's on fire, basically. To the point where when I worked at that summer camp in the mornings, the bathhouse, we'd all get up around the same time. So you had 4 toilets for like 50 women and girls. So you do not have the luxury of taking your time because there's literally 10 people waiting. And so when I was working there, I would wait my turn, and then I'd go in, do my business, get out, and the people in line would be like, can you teach an activity on how to pee quickly? And I'm like, that's not Y camp appropriate, because it was a YMCA camp. I can't teach you all how to pee quickly. Oh wait, I already own all this stuff. I'm sitting here like, ooh. I'm ordering 8 million books because I need them to make bookshelves. But actually makes me think of another camp story that I don't know if I've ever told online in a way where it's like recorded and archived somewhere. So I'll tell this one. So, for like context and understanding, from 2004 to 2009, I was a camper at a YMCA camp in Northeast Pennsylvania, like that little corner of Pennsylvania where New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania are all like kissing, and they're real close. That's where I was in Pennsylvania, and then after those 5 summers of being a camper, I got hired as a staff, and I worked from 2010 to 2014 was my last summer. And in 2014, I had the lovely honor of basically having 3 positions, because the camp was really, really struggling at this point. It was like basically about to close, and the only reason why they didn't is because the Philadelphia YMCA bought the camp and made it their like official summer camp location to send the kids from Philadelphia to. So that summer, I had originally been hired. I think my original position was something along the lines, I don't remember, but I ended up with 2 official positions, and they were waterfront staff development coordinator, which was a really fancy way of saying I was in charge of training and doing in-services for all of the lifeguards and for the counselors and training kids who were hopefully going to become staff in the future, part of the CIT program, counselor and training program, was a lifeguard certification course. So I was in charge of teaching the 16-year-olds how to be lifeguards, and then in charge of all the lifeguards. And then I ended up also being I was then I think it was just called program coordinator, of that section of the camp, because there were two camps, a teen camp and a little kid camp, and I had progressed my way over to the teen camp. So I was the program coordinator, or the activities coordinator, something like that, of the teen camp, and the waterfront staff development coordinator. And then because I was like the highest ranking at that time, I had not come out as trans non-binary. I didn't know what that stuff was at that time, so I was still a woman, a girl. So as the highest ranking female staff in that part of the camp, I was also the girls' village leader. So I was also in charge of all the girl campers and all the girl staff. And on this one day in particular, like I said, I was the waterfront staff development coordinator. So there was a waterfront director for each little kid and teen kid camp. And on this day, the waterfront director of the little kid camp, which we will call E, had the day off. The waterfront director of the E camp was married to the camp director who was in charge of the S camp, which is the teen camp. So I'm going to call that S camp. So he had the day off too, because his wife had the day off. So they had the day off together. So the highest ranking guy in the camp is on his day off. Okay? Then the next guy down is a guy named Andy from New Zealand, who is one of my really good friends. And then under him is basically me. Like we'll call him B, then Andy, then me. So B is off for the day. And because the waterfront director of E was also off, I was in charge of the waterfront for the E camp. I was sent down there and said, you're in charge of the waterfront for the day. And then a thunderstorm came. And when I say a thunderstorm, I mean this was a thunderstorm. I had to shut down the waterfront. I had to cancel the swimming for the day camp kids, who were very upset. And then it started to hail. And I mean, this was some pretty significant hail, probably some of the biggest hail I've ever seen. And as it's hailing, the power goes out. Now, I am one of the higher admin people of the S camp, but I am in E. There are two high-ranking people in the S camp, and one of them is off. And now we have a power outage where we have to use a special line on our radios to communicate because we have no power. So it's me and the photography guy, who also was down in Camp S. And he had a golf cart because he was the photographer, so he had to drive around all over. But he had like the worst golf cart out of all of them. It had no roof because, like I said, the camp was really struggling. They had no money to replace the golf carts. But the guy with the photography, he had to go to both camps that were half a mile apart. So he had to have a camp-friendly vehicle that wasn't a car to drive around. And so he had that. He was down in E camp with me. And so the power goes out, and I reach out to Andy on the radio. I'm like, hey, like, how are you handling this right now? What is the deal? And he's like, he comes over the radio. I hear so much noise in the background because he has taken all like 60, 70 or so kids that we had at the camp and brought them all down to the pavilion, and they were all playing a game called Gaga Ball. And I look over at the photography guy, whose name was Johnny, and I'm like, we got to get down there because it's me and Johnny who are like the next high-ranking people, and it's just fucking Andy down there with a bunch of kids and no fucking power. No power. So, Johnny and I, and mind you, it's still thundering, lightning, hailing. It is not safe for Johnny and I to leave. But we recognize that we gotta get down there. We can't leave Andy stranded. And we have a golf cart with no motherfucking roof to it. And if you're thinking to yourselves, did you really get in that fucking golf cart with no roof and drive half a mile in a thunderstorm with hail? The answer is yes, I did. Yes, I did. Johnny drove, but I rode in it. And we get down to the pavilion where all the kids are, and Andy looks so fucking frazzled. Like, it was one of the times I think I'd ever seen him really stressed. Another time was when we got like 30 or 40 teenagers lost in the middle of the unmarked woods. That's another story I could tell. So I'm like, what do we, he's like, so because we have no power, the toilets won't flush. Like, you gotta tell the girls, they can't flush the toilets. I have to tell teenage girls they can't flush the toilets? Great, that's gonna go over well. It went over okay. But after a couple hours, the girls came up to me, and they were like, Steph, can we please go to the bathroom, like, in the woods behind the bathhouse? Can we just go in the trees? And I'm like, and they're like, it stinks in the bathhouse. We can't go in there anymore because we can't flush, and it stinks in there. Okay, do whatever you got to do. I don't care. Just don't be commonsensical about it, guys. And I'm like messaging my mother, like, we have no power. I have, I have 30 teenage girls who can't flush the toilet. And we didn't know when the power was going to come back, but we were hoping it would be back soon. And luckily, by the time I woke up the next morning, it was all back. It was all good. But B came back, the waterfront director came back, and Andy and I somehow managed to handle that little crisis. Yeah. God, that was 10 years ago. This coming summer, that will have been 10 years ago. Like, for context, I was 21 years old. In charge of all these people, in charge of, like, me and my camp friends, we look back on our camp counselor days and we're like, these people, after paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to send their kids here, like, there's just left their kids with us, these absolutely shit-faced half the time college kids, and, like, we were responsible for their lives, and that was just fine. And we look back and like we would get never made sense. But yeah, whenever I get together with those people, that's like one of the first things that comes up is, how the fuck did they let us all be in charge of so many? I was 1 years old, and I was in charge of teaching people how to save literal lives. And, like, that was a period in my life too that was really, really crazy and bad. Like, I was by far the most traumatized and also the most untreated for that trauma. So you could just imagine how that would go. Badly. But somehow we all did it. Every summer, for several summers. By the time I had my last summer, I had been there for 11 years. Which is also why I'm glad that it worked out, like, in terms of, I didn't, like, explicitly plan it, but I was like, you know what? Because we a bunch of us would get the camp symbol tattooed on us, which that's a whole other thing. Because there are people like, yeah, this is a cult. It probably is. Because we all have matching tattoos and we all know all these songs and chants and other things. Like, when I took Robert to last summer, 2023, was the 75th anniversary of the camp. It had been open since 1948. And so obviously a huge deal. They had a big reunion like they do. Every 5 years they have a big reunion for the big like anniversary dates. And, so I brought Robert. And at one point, I think we started like singing something or chanting something. And he just looked at me and went, "Is this a cult?" Or no, I think he said, "This is a cult." I don't think it was a question. Oh, God damn it. Gotta get that again. But so when I got the camp symbol tattooed, I had been there 11 years, and it just I managed to have it work out where it was also my 11th tattoo. So that just felt good. And it's like, I'm just so... And it's funny, too, because when I did finally get it, people were like, "I thought you had one already." Like, no, I never got one. Because the tradition was there was this really sketchy tattoo place called Pocono Tattoo that was in between the camp and the local Walmart. And so it was tradition after, I think, 10 years of being at camp. Whether you were camper or counselor, it didn't matter. You just 10 years. I think it was 10 years. That was when you would get the tattoo, and that would make you like a lifer. And the lifers are people like who had been the camp. You could go as early as 8 years old. I started going at 11. So I have friends who went from 8 years old till however when they stopped. And then, so you go like your whole childhood, then you become a staff. And then when you get old enough and you have children, you send your children too. And then those children continue to go, and then they become staff, and it just keeps on going. So it was really cool. Wait, I know what I could talk about. And I'm going to have to send a video of this. I'll have to make a separate clip of it. But so at camp, one of the things as a camper that we all heard about all the time, there's a lake, right? Was that there was a car in the lake, in the bottom of the lake. And we all heard about this car. And that, like, it was supposedly like a Volkswagen Bug or something. Like, it was an old car. It had been there for a long time. And so we were all, if you've been to camp, you've heard about the car. And so we got older, time went on, we became staff. We told our campers about the car in the lake. And, eventually we had the question, somebody was like, "So is this actually a real thing, or is this just one of those things that we've been telling all the kids for decades because that's just what we do?" And so we didn't know if the car was actually a real thing in the lake or not. And we're at the reunion, and that's when we're having these questions, like, is the car really in the lake, or is this just one of these things that we have perpetuated as the camp family? Like, is this thing real? So we're at the reunion, and one night, it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody else has gone to bed. It's me and these two dudes who just, like, intoxicatedly walked over to our fire. And all my friends had gone to bed. It's just me and these two random guys who I didn't know them. They were at camp long before me. They were at camp in, like, the 90s when I was, like, born and like a little kid. So I didn't know them or anything. But I had the idea because they were at camp before me and all my friends. I was like, "Hey, the car in the lake. Did y'all also tell your kids about the car in the lake? Like, do y'all know if that's real?" And the one guy looks at me and goes, "I've seen it." "You've seen the car in the lake?" That's what I said. I freaked out. I was like, "What do you mean you've seen the car in the lake?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was swimming, I went down for something, and it's not, when I saw it anyway, I mean, this was 30 years ago now, but it was not as deep as everybody has been saying it is. It was just off of this one place we called the Rut. It was like this big hill that like was literally a rut in the land, like a divot in the landscape, in between these two hills, and you could just go down it in like a snow tube or something, a sled. And he said that it was like just down that, like a little off to the side, and that it wasn't very deep at all. And I'm like, you're joking. You're joking. You're telling me you've seen the car in the lake. He's like, I swear to you, I've seen the car in the lake. And I'm like, oh my God. And all my friends are asleep. Especially my one friend, Gwen, who is like the most invested in the car in the lake story. So, of course, the very first thing I say at breakfast the next morning is, I have an answer about the car in the fucking lake. And Gwen was like, what? So, yes, in October, I got confirmation that the car in the lake is real. And only camp people care about that. So y'all probably listen to this are like, who cares about this? Why do I care about some random car in some random lake at some random camp in the middle of Pennsylvania? You probably don't. You probably don't. But I do. All right. What kind of song do I want? And I started playing this so that I could like catch up on all my shit. It's not gonna happen. I'll leave it up. Do we want to leave it up to KK? I think I'll leave it up to him. I'm like super paranoid about having my mic close enough to my face because I had to record an intro for the home safety hotline video and like stream that I made. And I did not realize when I recorded it that I had the microphone too far away from my face because I got this new mic. I had to, mess with the gain settings to make sure it doesn't pick up, like to try and prevent picking up as much of Robert's noise as possible. So the gain is like super duper duper low, which means it's got to be pretty close to my face. And I think in that intro, I had it like. You guys can't even see it. That's how far away it is. But like here it is. Right here. And like that's how far away it was. Like you guys probably can't even hear me that well now. But so I'm working on it. I'm learning. I mean what? 2 weeks ago I didn't even have a microphone arm. It was always on my desk. So what am I doing? How did I end up over here? Take a seat, bro. KK Folk, let's go. Let's go. We might do multiple KK songs because I need to do something. But, yeah, I could sit here and tell summer camp stories all day. All day. And it's crazy because, like, basically, I have some really easy interview questions for jobs. Like, there was one time, I got asked in a job interview about a time that I dealt with a crisis. And how did I deal with it? What did I do? And I decided, I think I said in the moment, give me a second to think about it. Because I have a few to choose from. And I think I remember seeing a little bit of like side glances. Like the interviewers were like glancing at each other like, why do you need a minute? So after a minute, I said, okay. So again, at the camp, half a mile apart, I am at Camp E at this point in my life, working at Camp E all the time. Camp E, the little kids, would go and walk down to Camp S, where the pavilion was, and have dances there. And Camp S would have a dance after the Camp E kids would. So on that evening, it started to thunderstorm. Right? All my best stories have thunderstorms. Actually, no, just my two best. Um, so it started. They started to see a thunderstorm starting to roll in. They could see the cloud. They could see like the thunder and lightning from coming from the clouds from far away. So they're like, "This storm's rolling quick. Camp E kids and staff, you got to end your dance early. We're sorry. You got to get back to your camp. Please leave." So we start walking our way back. You know, the half-mile trek with 8 to 12-year-olds. And we keep going. And in between, actually not really in between, but just before Camp E, there's a big meadow, a big field with a playground and sports fields and sports shed and stuff, and the camp CEO's house. And so as we start to approach the meadow, all the staff get informed that as we are walking very quickly as we can to beat the storm, there is a family of bears in the meadow, and we need to sing and scream and make as much noise as possible to potentially scare off the family of bears. And we used to cut through the meadow as a shortcut. Don't cut. Obviously, there's fucking bears. So we start screaming and singing and being real loud. And I remember at one point, a kid asked me, "Why are we singing so loud?" And I looked at that kid and I just said, "Because we're just having so much fun." And, you know, we got back. We avoided the family of bears. We avoided the storm. It was fine. The interviewers told me that was the best answer that they had ever got. You know, I could also use the story of the power outage and the golf cart, and not being able to flush the toilet. I have so many. Like, you name it, I have likely encountered it in some form. You know? Did he tell me to take a seat? He did. And yeah, I just my best stories come from that time. Some of my best. I have a couple other ones, you know. Like when a kid wanted to stab me with a screw from a doorstop. But then she didn't because she liked me. Well, now I feel like I gotta tell that story. It's story time. So in this one, I was working at a like residential school program for girls who were so traumatized and had such struggles with their behaviors that they could not be at home. They could not go to a regular school. They had to be sent to this place. And this was a place where we were able to restrain the girls under three conditions. They had to either be harming themselves, harming others, or potentially property damage. But like the property damage one had to be like pretty, like it had to be like you were gonna break a window or something, and there was gonna be glass everywhere, like real danger. And at this point, I had been there for over a year, and I had just gotten my gallbladder removed. I was 1 week out from my surgery, and I had to be back at work because that's all I could afford to be off for. I was not cleared to restrain anyone because I still had stitches in my body. Like my stitches had not healed and come out or whatever. And I was told that I had to be with this one girl who had not agreed to being safe. And if the kids were having a hard time and they wouldn't agree to being safe, then they got a staff assigned to them to like basically be with them one-on-one all day, or until they agreed to being safe. So they said, we gotta put you with her. You know, she wouldn't agree to being safe. I'm like, I can't restrain. Like if something goes wrong, I can't stop her. And they're like, "Oh, don't worry. Call, just call us and we'll help you." So I go up there. She's in her room. She's already in a bad place because she's just upset. And I tell her, "Hey, I'm here. I'll be with you." And she's like, "No, go away. Get out of my doorway." I'm like, I can't do that. You didn't agree to being safe, so I gotta be here. I'm not trying to bother you. I'm just gonna sit here. Like, that's it. And she continued to escalate, and get more upset. And eventually she tries to close the door while I am standing in the doorway. And I have to use my body to stop it. And at this point I call for help because this is going in the direction I can't go in. And they tell me from down, we're upstairs. They're downstairs. And I say, "I need backup up here. I can't come. I'm the only one down here." And they couldn't leave all the girls alone downstairs by themselves. So first you tell me I'm going to be able to have backup, and then you tell me that it's not available. So now I'm in a situation where I am physically in danger from this child, and now I'm also physically in danger, like in terms of my recovering, my surgery, my healing. And as I am standing there in the doorway, she had slumped down and sat on the floor against the wall behind the door. So she's in between the wall and the door, where the door stopper is. And it's one of those long, skinny door stoppers with like the rubber end on it, and it screws into the wall. And she had pulled that out of the wall and was sitting there with the doorstop with a screw that was probably about 2 or 3 inches big, about this big. And I'm watching her through the crack in the door hinge in like the door frame. So like very small space, I'm able to see her, but I can still see her. And I just see her sitting, like pretend that this pen is the door screw, and she's just sitting there like this. And at this point, like she's still pushing on the door every so often. I'm still standing there holding it open, using my body, and I am silently crying at this point in time. There are just tears running down my face because I knew as soon as they said, I can't come up there, I'm by myself, and I saw that door screw, that screw on the end of the door stopper, I said to myself, if I do or say one thing wrong right now, I'm going to get stabbed today. And we both just sat there in silence. I can't remember how this resolved, because at this point, this was almost 7 years ago now. But it did resolve. She did not stab me. I did not have to restrain her. If I'm remembering correctly, I think she just calmed down, and I got out of that situation. They like swapped me out, I think. But several months later, her and I were discussing that incident. It came up like naturally. It wasn't like I brought it up. You don't bring things up like that. But it came up, and she looked at me, and she's like, "Yeah, Steph, I had to tell myself, you like Stephanie. You don't want to hurt them. And that was the only reason why I didn't stab you with that screw." And I looked at her, and I went, "Well, good thing you like me then, huh, kiddo?" And now, that was it. That was the end of it. We kind of just laughed and moved on with our evening. But I'll never forget that. I mean, how could you? How could you? I don't know how to describe with you all what it's like to have that moment where you're like, oh God, like I might be in real danger here. And if you haven't had that experience yourself, you're not gonna understand what that feeling is like. If you've had that feeling yourself and you know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm so sorry. I don't want you to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's one of those formative experiences. It shapes you, it changes you. Oh, I was only at that job for about a year and a half. And that's another one where I have so many stories. Was there? Oh, good. I do have stuff to donate. One measly fossil. I gotta get rid of some of this shit in my pockets. Sorry, somebody sent me a meme that I needed to respond to because I forgot to answer earlier. Sorry, it's Noah Khan talking. He's finally releasing the song that I have been waiting for forever. To be released. It's finally coming out on Friday. I just cannot wait. All right. Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to do. I want to change the music. Ooh. All right, there's gonna be some old songs on here. Y'all are just gonna have to deal with it. I've always loved this one. The plesiosaurus is a complete. Sure. Tell me. And I'll turn right back around. Do I got? And I'll turn right back around. Sorry, I had to talk to Robert real fast. I had to ask him some questions. I am good. Abir, were you here at all for the last like 30 minutes of story time? Because I just told like 6 different stories from like all different times of my life, and and I'm just curious if you were here at all. Because I feel like if you were, you would have said something to a few points. Yeah, I'm gonna be the man who comes home to you. This is my favorite song to listen to when I drop my car off for like maintenance and stuff, and then I have to walk back to the car place. This is the song that I put on as I walk back to my car. Cuz I think it's funny. So I'll literally be walking to my car and be like, and I would walk 500 miles as I walk to my car. I know I'm gonna be the man without you. No, I know I'm gonna dream a man with you. When I go out. When I come home. Kind of thinking about I think I'm gonna switch to Dead by Daylight. And a little, it just feels like the vibe. I would walk 500 miles, and then watch. I go and I play, and I fucking have horrible matches, and then I'm miserable. That's. I just predicted the future. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Me, so walk to my car. Walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Bye. this one? Okay, finally. This is such a good song, man. Like, I've always loved this song, and then the Grammys last week just reminded me. Oh my god. This car. Out of here, been working at a convenience store. A little bit of money, far into the city. Take care of him. Biff, what are you making? Driving in your car. I'm so fast and I'm drunk. Oh, you didn't even give me the recipe, bitch? What are you making? Be someone, be someone. That line just now of like, I've got a feeling that I could be someone, that's exactly what you feel like. I mean, at least that's what I felt like. Like when you think about all the things you could have done if you weren't so fucking traumatized. You know, I could be something. If all this fucked up shit didn't fuck up my brain. Oh my god. I history. Don't know much of biology. Don't know much about the science books. Don't know much about the thoughts joke. But I do know that I love you. And I know that you love me too. For a world it could be. If you're like my age or older, you may know this song. But if you've never seen Animal House, then no. You're not going to know it. That's the only reason why I know it, because it's in Animal House. That scene with the cafeteria. With John Belushi. What a wonderful world this would be. All right, let's sell these things and then. Might only be a couple rounds, but don't know much biology. I spoke love me too. What a wonderful world this could be. This is a good one. Give me my money, little nooklings. Mm. Ah! I don't know. He did something. He landed on a plate. Stop putting your butt in the microphone, cat. Well, you chose a bad time because I'm listening to Megan. So I'm bouncing. Megan, these hoes mad at Megan's Law. What are you doing, cat? All right. Wait, was that these don't have fans? They're bots? Megan. Megan. All right. We're switching up. I like that. Ever since I claimed the summer, all you bitches want a season. That's great. Oh. Oh yeah. Let me. Whoo. There's 36.4K viewers, and no one's gonna see me. It's fine. I won't be laughing when you're making you cry, 'cause I can't please. I'm sorry, I keep bumping into the mic with my chin and shit. That probably doesn't sound good for y'all. Vendana's a friend of mine. Revenge is sweeter than wine. Get on your knees when you are kissing my ring. Bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. Did I not pick the right? Hey, your years are wasted. There we are.
How many pages have I written?
I don't know, Alan. How many? Wait. Oh, look at these. There. What the hell is that? Darkness shrouds the entity's realm. When the lights go out, the real terror begins to reverse the darkness with nothing but your own senses to guide you. No abilities, no... No! No. Cosmetics can be earned. Select the collection tab. I don't know if that's something I'm interested in.
I think we're all gonna have fun here.
I should probably fix the size so that you can see the perks I'm using, because you can't see the perks I'm using because they get cut off by my camera. I should probably fix that.
Oh, wow.
I apologize if I end up
Will you
coughing.
look at this place?
Oh. I don't know why I checked there. Ugh.
Be very quiet. I'm scared of a doll. Really?
shit. Oh well. Alright, I thought I saw somebody, but I didn't. I'm just gonna go this way. I'm on the moon.
Why are you running from a doll?
Nah.
Just stay down already.
I knew it. I said as soon as I heard somebody running, I knew they were gonna do that in my head. I didn't say it out loud, but girl. I didn't even want to go after you. Why did you do that? What, were you like waiting there or something, like an idiot?
You're going down.
I definitely hear someone somewhere real close.
It's
What are you
quiet.
doing?
Let's do this.
One second sooner. Oh well. you
so
again.
fast you could hurt yourself.
Oh shit, I didn't think that was gonna hit. Anyone else? I don't wanna chase you, Alan. Oh. You go ahead, Alan.
Come out, wherever you are.
Oh, the gate thing is right here. I didn't realize it was that close. Alan, I don't want to get you. I chased you a lot.
Nobody runs from me. Nobody.
Oh, just go open the gate and leave. I'll go one last again.
Hello?
Alright.
Anybody
We're gonna
there?
probably open that up if they haven't already. Oh, hi, Veer. Do do do. Ah, shit. I didn't want to do that. Ugh.
This is gonna be fun.
That doesn't sound good. Oh, okay. Wait, you can dig into the ground? That's cool.
This is such a good song. Ooh. Dance you out of my head.
Couponer, 50% off entry tickets to the ruins. Now that I'm level 7.
You're all going to die.
I keep forgetting. I keep going for the nearest gen because there's a part of my brain that's like, oh, you're a survivor. Go for the gen. No. No, you're not. Hey, babe. I see you up there. Yes, go.
Don't run so fast, you could hurt yourself.
Oh, no, I missed that. Alright, I'm gonna go right this way. pretty good. That wasn't. The heck was that, Dwight? On.
Don't be scared. I just want to play.
Oh.
Hello? Anybody there? This is so
serious?
addictive.
How was that, bro?
Oh, you little shit.
Come on, Toots.
Just be very quiet.
Can't deal with the long screams today. Oh.
You're going down.
Let's go, Tiff.
Great after everyone. Come out, wherever you are.
Got a few hooks. I'm okay. Don't gotta kill everyone. That's fine. I got my challenge. That's the best part. Okay. Alright, we're gonna do one more. Pause. I am hungry. Snack. Why is the idea of Dead by Daylight gameplay with music over it so funny to me? Telling you, my brain is broken. My sense of humor broken. Won't be able to hear as well. Be funny.
Wow. Will you look at this place?
Oh, I see you. Just drop it. I missed it. I hit a rock.
Oscar goes to... Don't you run from me!
I'm surprised I got it. Ugh. Hate the long screaming. That was like a setting. Instead of needing to stab people. I don't know what the fuck those are.
Quiet.
Ma'am.
Yeah, that looks like it hurts.
There's two of you. Thought it was
Scared of a doll?
How is that?
Really?
I've seen that.
and Pookie. Hello? Anybody there?
I don't know which gets that. Yeah, that's now I know this is bad. Go on. Just push him out the door. Get out. Leave. Alright. Cool. So, I will be back on Friday for more streaming fun. I think on Friday I'll probably start at 6. There might be some nights where I'm gonna adjust it to 7. It's really hard to do 6. It just feels really rushed. So, yeah, thank you all so much, and I will see you then.